Hi everyone, welcome to my allotment. This is my September tour. We're now in middle of September and what a month it's been. It's been quite nice so far and we are due to get some really nice warm weather next week as well. So I'm in the greenhouse and there's still a lot of green tomatoes in here that needs ripening. And I know the peppers and the aubergines will really like the warmer weather. So I'm very happy. I thought we'd start this month's tour in here because I'd say right now this is the lushest, almost the lushest it's ever been. The marigolds are still ginormous and they're still going strong. I try to deadhead them as much as possible, but sometimes life gets in the way. But yes, I'm really happy with my tomatoes this year. So I've grown 2 sun golds and I'm still picking. I'm just about to pick again. And there's quite a lot to go through actually. And then I have the beefsteak tomande here. And there's a ripe one I need to pick as well. And then I have 2 yellow brandywine beefsteaks and I noticed that these 2 need picking. They are so yummy, really, really yummy. And then I have another cherry tomato, Rosella, which is like a really dusky pink cherry tomato with like green shoulders. So like that. It's gorgeous and it is very tasty, especially warm from the sun. But not a lot beats a sun gold. It's just so spicy. So yeah, my aubergines have finally started going now. They're quite small this year, I think because they're in pots. And I think this one's ready to pick. They're called early long purple. So they are this shape. And they're a bit varied in color this year. I have 2 plants. This is cropping well. I'm not sure there'll be enough for baba ganoush from these plants, so I'm gonna grow some different varieties next year and see if I can get those big juicy ones. And I also noticed there's quite a lot of chilies finally on my lemon drop pepper. So it's quite a slight lemony flavored chili pepper. So these are going yellow and I noticed there's some darkening here, which means that when they go black or brown, the green ones, it means that they're about to change color. So there's quite a lot of fruit coming through and it's finally grown. Like they were tiny for so long. So I'm happy about that. And the padron peppers are still going really well. And I think I'm gonna pick this sweet pepper. It's a golden California. And I'm gonna pick that today, so it looks as golden as it's gonna get. And then I have a sweet banana pepper. And I know that most people use them this color, but I wanted to try them in red and see which way I prefer. And you see they're quite small plants still, but they're in small pots. I have a few more of each, so I thought I'd do it that way instead of having big plants. So I have planted them in pots this year along with the aubergines because I want to give the tomatoes the space they want, and I also want to grow the marigolds and I want to grow basil and I want to grow cucumber, and there just isn't enough space. So I put the chilies and the aubergines and the peppers in pots, and that means I can also regulate their watering a bit more easy. So I tend to only water them once a week maybe twice a week if it's really hot, and they start to droop like this. So I've just watered them. So they start drooping, and then you know it's time to water. Or you can lift the pots, and if they feel really light, you know it's time to water as well. So it's worked quite well for me this year. In the beginning of the year, I totally forgot about that, so I was watering way too much. But I will remember next year, I promise. Yeah. So these are my indoor tomatoes, and they are still blight free. Fingers crossed that they stay that way. That's not something I can say about my outdoor tomatoes. So I ripped them out last week, and I saw on the stems that they were blackening, and I noticed on 1 or 2 fruits that there was blight there. So it's not surprising. It was wet in July and some of August, so it was just prime blight weather. It's a shame. A lot of people lost out on a lot of tomatoes, because if you don't have an undercover growing space, it's hard to protect them if the weather sets in. You know, I'm hoping for a better year next year, because I have a lot of tomatoes that I want to grow, and the only way I can grow all the varieties, ooh, it's windy, is if I grow them outside. So let's hope for a better year. My basket tomatoes, I have Tumbling Tom in 2 baskets. It's a miniature or dwarf variety, bush variety, and they have done really well. So they were at my house, the back of my house, but they have gone over, they have dried up, and I am going to harvest all the tomatoes from them. So it's not blight, it's just that they're in pots, and I reduced the watering to ripen the fruit, and basically it's not, I think I overdid it, but there's still enough fruit on there. So I'm happy. But yeah, and then what else are we gonna do? Yeah, we're gonna go around and we're gonna harvest all the good bits that are available in September. So I've taken off all the red and all the ones that are starting to change colour, because I think they will probably go red together. I'm leaving the green ones on because we're getting some warm weather, and I think they'll ripen best sitting on the vine still, just left out like this in the sun. So this is the allotment in September. Some things are putting on a glut now, and some things have finished that I've pulled up, but mainly it's still going strong. You can see the giant pumpkin there and another squash there, and yeah, we'll have a closer look, shall we? So it's a very, very sunny evening, but it is a bit windy, so I hope you can all hear me. You should be able to see me all right though. Starting at this end of the allotment, the giant pumpkin has had a bit of an issue this year. Some issues. I've got one growing. A child fell over, not my child, a child fell over onto it. They shouldn't have been on my plot, but they, yeah. He was running and he fell teeth first into it. It looks like it's hardened off though, so I hope it stays that way. But anyway, it's not growing, I think, so I think this might be it. Sad year for giant pumpkins. The French beans, oh hello cat. The French beans almost perished in the 2 storms we had, but they've just now started growing again with new leaves and new flower buds, so I think there might be a second flush. If the weather holds in September, there'll probably be a second flush. And I have some parsnips and they are doing really well. I pulled a few thinnings and they were so long. You can see that on my Instagram. It was pretty insane. But my round courgette, seriously, I mean, look at it. It's tiny. It's tiny. The plant is tiny. And there's been some fruit, you know, but they're slow in coming. And this one flowered today. But there was no male flowers. And there's still female fruit, right? But, you know, I don't know. It's so small. And I keep watering. I water it as often as I water the giant pumpkin, which is often. And it still is got this powdery mildew. So the plants usually get this when they are, when it's a bit dry. Then they get susceptible to it. So if you keep watering, you should be able to hold it back. It's always going to happen. And I guess it's not on the, as long as it's not on the new growth, the plant will survive. It will kill it in the end, but don't worry too much about it. If it makes you happy, you can cut the worst leaves off. It does help for me if I feel emotionally upset about plants looking crap. Just cut the damaged stuff off. And all of a sudden the plant looks healthier, you know. So that's how I look at it. And I've got my chicories here as well in this bed, and some old beetroot. But the chicories, they're for Harding. They are so gorgeous, and yeah, really nice against the fennel bulbs, which are almost all of them bolting. Oh well. Such is life. But yeah, so that's the first bed. And here we have some celery. And they're doing alright. They're just not being watered as much as they should be. Celeriac. Sorry. Yeah, I mean it's starting. But again, probably not getting as much water as it should do. And this brassica bed has some more calabrese, but the main event in here right now, can you see that? They're the kohlrabi. So I didn't pick any of these today because I don't need them today. So I might keep one to see how big it gets. This is colossal, so hopefully it'll get quite big. And these are azers. They're so pretty. So I grow this chunky short variety called Oxella, which is very tasty. I think it's really tasty. Plus you don't have any issues getting it out of the ground. You know, they don't go that deep. They just, when they mature, they swell to this size. So these I pulled prematurely, but it's hard to tell. You can sort of dig around a bit, and if it's got a wide shoulder, you know it's ready. But yeah, I grow them all under mesh to avoid carrot root fly, and you see they're pristine, so it works really well. Otherwise there'll be lots of holes in them. So that's my carrot tip number 1. So these are calabrese that I sowed in early spring, and they are still here with me. The leaves are thick as leather, and the pests don't even seem to bother them anymore. So yeah, but we're still getting these smaller heads coming through, so it's great. The first head that you get on a calabrese is what you'd call broccoli, so it's quite large. You cut that and you leave the plant. The plant will then start shooting side heads, a bit like sprouting broccoli. They are a bit larger, but they then get smaller and smaller over time, the longer the season goes. But I had no idea that they would go on for this long, because previously I've pulled them after a while because I've needed the space. This year was alright, so I can't believe they're still producing. But you know, great little workers these. So it's a Marathon F1, so it's F1 variety, so maybe it's more reliable. I don't know, but it's a good one to try. So this bed used to have some sweet peas here, but they have finished, and I've got some parsley and some flowering dill. I mean, how gorgeous are these? They're so nice, and the insects absolutely love them. And I've got, yes, the carrots you've already seen, and then I'm growing turnips. So these are a mixture of the purple topped and white turnips, and then I also have black winter radish here, and they're very similar so far. There's some damage on the leaves, but they should be fine. And I planted out some breakfast radish and other herbs and more beetroot. So this is almost a full bed again. It's crazy. It used to have potatoes, but they're all done. And this bed also used to, no wait, that bed used to have potatoes, sorry. So immediately after harvesting, I planted them up again. And here we got fennel I grew from seed. And this is bulbing fennel, and yeah, I'm just not watering. Yeah, it's been too dry and I haven't had time to water, so I'm not sure I'm gonna get any bulbs from these. We'll see. That's the trick. And that's the broccoli that you saw before. I've got some more poor little beetroot here. And here is the ginormous glass gem corn. So this is a flint corn variety, which is you leave it to dry completely on the plant. But I am skeptical that I'm going to get anything. They're so thin, and a lot of them are super soft. This one is a bit hard, and it is drier. So you don't pick them now, even though they're dry. You leave them to completely dry on the plant. But they're so thin, like, I don't know. So it's a gorgeous multicolored cob that you're supposed to get. I mean, this one's got growing out of the top of it. Okay, that's not gonna work, is it? Yeah, I don't know, maybe this one. Multicolored popping corn, basically popping corn, but they're so gorgeous. I really hoped that was gonna work, but we'll see. And then here we have some butternuts, and they were so late in forming, so I am just not sure they're gonna be able to finish. It all depends on the weather. This one, Gallows Dacinia, has already finished, and the vine is almost dead. It's this yellow vine here. It's just a little bit of green behind the tomato. But I'm gonna leave it out with all my winter squash. I'm gonna leave them out to properly cure and finish developing their seeds and everything inside. And then I'm gonna harvest them, bring them inside way before any risk of frost. And this is the only outdoor tomato that is still okay. And I mean, yeah, it's okay. I mean, some wind damage and whatnot, but it's all right. It doesn't have blight yet because it was grown on the completely opposite part of the allotment and not so crowded by other things. So still got, it's beefsteak, but because it's growing outside, they're not very big. This bed is partly the lettuce bed. At the front here are endive, and they're doing really well. They seem to be heartening up now, but the lettuce is bolting. I mean, I've got more seedlings to go, but it's quite embarrassing. I grew too many, you know, we don't eat enough of it. And in here I have some cauliflower, and this end, and then this end is all the kale. and they are so pretty. They're just gorgeous. So I've got 4 types of kale. So this is Sunderland kale, absolutely gorgeous, and red ursa, apparently really nice to eat just in a salad. And then I have asparagus kale, which I haven't tried yet, and apparently you're supposed to eat the flowering shoots and they will taste a bit like asparagus, I assume, so I shouldn't really have planted them in here. And then behind all these are some caballeros, and down there are the cauliflowers. So I had some white fly and aphid infestation on the cauliflowers, so I hope they can get rid of those over the winter. And yes, so I use scaffold netting on water hose piping over my brassicas mostly, and when they're smaller I use a mesh. And over here are 2 plants in the asparagus bed. Sorry, it's asparagus as well. But there's 2 plants of this variety of winter squash, which is Crown Prince, and is an F1 variety, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So these are still very green, and there's 1 plant here, this end, and it is grown in homemade compost on this side, and it has 3 gorgeous big fruits, and the vine just keeps going, and it keeps going around and keeps going back. And there's also 1 more plant here, but it is tiny. It literally finishes there, right? And it has 1 small fruit. But so this side it was growing in bought compost, and this is now the rhubarb. You can still harvest some if you want, but it's starting to die back now. So these are my new lettuce seedlings, and there's some spinach in there as well as some more herbs. And these will replace the lettuces that are bolting right now. So those varieties of lettuce I've got growing are actually not that bitter once they're bolting, so we're still eating them, so that's good. So the autumn fruiting raspberries have really come into their own now. They are so good at producing, like, I'm so glad I grew them. So I grew them this year. I bought a bundle offer from T&M, I think it was, and they arrived a bit late because of lockdown, but I managed to plant them out, and they have started fruiting the first year, so I'm so happy. I'm salivating now. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna eat this now. And there's so many fruit. I started picking them when they were not completely ripe, and then they don't have such a great flavor. But if you wait until they almost fall off, they're perfect. So I'm sitting here by my squash orch. I managed to find one during lockdown. I was pretty happy about it because I was just beginning to get into the whole vertical growing for winter squash. So I planted 2 uchikikuri or red curry squash, 1 either side of it, and I was hoping it would just go all over it. But the squash this year have been a bit hit and miss, and yes, I've got fruit. You can see there one, but above that fruit, can you see that the vine's actually dying? And I don't know why that is. So that's as tall as it goes. Sorry, I'll turn the camera around. So there are 2 gorgeous fruit on this side, and they're almost finished, but the plant didn't get very high.
On this side, it did get almost to the top, and it's also got 2 gorgeous fruit, but yeah, so it's not gonna climb all the way over, which is a shame. But the fruit are just beautiful. Yeah, they're just so orange, you know. Yeah, why are you always in the way? But yeah, I look forward to cutting them. I'm gonna wait again until the vine just dies back. And in front of them I had snapdragons, different colors, and I'm just waiting for the seeds to ripen, and then I'll collect. So I look forward to that. Sorry, under this netting I've got my last swede growing from this planting, and we're gonna eat swede mash tonight, so I'm gonna harvest it. I don't think it's fully ready, so it might be a bit small, but needs must. Right, so goodness me. Yeah, it's a bit small, but it will add to the other swede we already have in the house. Otherwise, under here, the Savoy cabbage. Hello, cat. The Savoy cabbage is looking good. It's starting to head up. The Kale's and Brussels sprouts are all doing great, so they're for later. Oh. So in between these cucumber plants, outdoor cucumber plants. Oh, actually, that one might need picking. I've got these purple TP dwarf beans growing, and they are just gorgeous. It's a shame the color goes away when you cook it, but they're really pretty. And the trick with beans is to keep picking, and then you keep getting more until they die. Remind me never to film at this time in the evening again. Anyway, one of the experiments that I did that did not work out was plant a summer squash, Benning's green tint patty pan squash inside my runner bean teepee, because basically the runner beans are so thick in their foliage that they excluded all light. So in response, the squash is just scrambled out and has grown massive. It's producing fruit now, but it's so big, like it's just throwing arms out everywhere. But they're very, very, very pretty. So this is a runner bean teepee, and this is runner bean czar, which is an heirloom, and it's beautiful, and it's got white flowers, and inside these pods are white beans if you let them mature, which I am doing because I'm collecting from this teepee. I'm collecting the beans for freezing. But yes, inside here is a Benning's green tint grown, and it's producing gorgeous fruits, absolutely gorgeous, and they're beautiful to eat as well. And there's quite a lot coming here, I think. But the thing is, it's not just here, it's out here as well, and there's one there, and then it's coming out at the top here as well. More fruit. So this is quite high off the ground, but it's managed to climb up the teepee, and there's even more down here. And these are other summer squashes. Yeah, so I planted 4 other summer squashes here. 2 summer crookneck, which are these gorgeous yellow knobbly things that are just divine, and they are also very, very tasty, and I'm producing quite a lot of fruit. And the other I've got is Pâtisson Blanc, which is another patty pan squash, and yeah, it's also producing now. Very nice. And the other, oh, this is a better example of the summer squash. Look at that, hey? Beautiful. But yes, a lot of powdery mildew. And next to it is a Galles Désigné squash. And this one is much larger than the one I have over there. And it's curing as well. This vine is huge. It's going down through the sweet corn. This has almost finished. I think there's one or two cobs left. Through the corn and out into my wild, it's not a wildflower area, but wild area, because there's quite a lot of not wildflowers in it, but yeah, so it's continuing out into it past the sunflowers and all the way out here, and it's got more fruit. I don't think these will produce yet. This one's gone yellow and it'll fall off. But wow, so some of them just grow absolutely massive. But yeah, the wild area full of flowers is one of my favorite bits on the allotment right now, actually. And I'm surprised. I thought it would take until next year maybe, but I think about a month ago I spread out I bought lots of seed. There was no wildflower mix seeds left. They'd all been bought and it was late in the season to sow them. But I included a lot of the seeds I had just lying in my seed box, you know, and I spread them out, raked them in, and then we had quite a lot of rain. So a lot of them have germinated and it's looking pretty good. So it starts with the squash, just moving into it. And then there's a whole load of sunflowers, which are doing really well. Much better than the ones I sowed from seed in spring, in modules, in the greenhouse. Oh, there's a little resident spider in there. And I think they're gonna flower unless we have atrocious weather. And then there's some rapes for the wild insects, and some calendula has started. I can't remember what this is called. And lots of things I recognize that I have sowed seeds of have come up, you know, and it's just looking beautiful. These are California poppies, and this is Verbena Bampton. It's the same as I have over in the allotment, and these ones I planted out as modules. So this must be one of the giant sunflowers. I mean, it isn't a giant, but it's bigger than the other ones I've sowed. And here's some cosmos as well that has self-sowed, I think, from last year. And there's a hollyhocks there, and yeah, I've planted also some foxgloves that I grew from seed this year. Hopefully they'll flower next year. But you know, it's looking gorgeous. It's done so well, much better than I thought it would. And these, it's a shame, so they're little blue flowers, and they close in the evening, but they're really, really delicate. And yeah, it's just divine. And I found this oxalis just growing in the compost bin. It must have been my neighbor who, you know, threw out a potted plant or something. So I found it growing and I was like, oh, I'll just plant the corm. And it's taken quite well. I mean, there's also a lot of bindweed here and a lot of thistles and things I might need to pull. But wow, it's looking so good. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And hopefully these bricks will soon be gone. And my beehive, or bee hotel I should say, no bees have moved in. So you use a lure to spray into these little holes here, and then you wait for them to move in when they swarm. But season is over, so I'll have to wait until next year. That's a shame. So I've had a pretty good cabbage year, and I still have some cabbage left. Filderkraut is still coming through, and I also still have some red cabbage. So I'll show you what they look like, because they look amazing. So again, I'm growing them under my cages. These are some cauliflowers and some romanesco. So some of them are flowering, but I'm still eating these shoots, and I have had some heads down there, so it's been all right. But the cabbages, oh my god, it's a shame the sun isn't on them, because they are so nice. So this is oh, there's some damage here but that's all right. I think these might be from earwigs actually. And this is filderkraut here. There's some damage on these leaves, but you don't eat these anyway. You eat the heart. So they are just gorgeous little pointy things. But yeah, so this has been good. I think cabbage likes growing on clay soil as well, so which is what I have. But yeah, pretty good. Some more filderkraut down there as well. So, and last but not least are 2 more winter squash that have been climbing. So I'll show you what they look like. They have been climbing up these cast iron cloches, I think they are. So they are supposed to be lying down, protecting crops or whatever, but I have staked them in the ground with rebar to hold them in place, and then I've just trained them up, and it's been very good. And this is pink banana, and I've got 1 fruit, and this, you see this blueness, so that's supposed to become more obvious from both sides, or maybe even some marbling with curing, I hope. That's what I was thinking. Maybe this hasn't had enough sunlight, possibly, because of the leaves, so we'll see. And then over here is a ginormous blue banana squash. And yeah, I mean, it's actually gone blue now, or teal, which I'm so happy about, because it was just green for like ever. It's so big. It's like easily gonna be probably 2 foot. But the vine did not like the wind. The tip of it has climbed over and down. It's still green, so it's still some life in it. But the growing tip has broken off. But yeah, so yeah, looking forward to that one. So a pretty good harvest today. I needed to get all these tomatoes off the vine because I don't want them splitting, but this we're gonna eat today. So we're gonna have toad in the hole with chicken sausages, and we're gonna have swede mash with that, and a side of steamed broccoli and beans. And the toddler really likes steamed carrots, so she's getting that. And then I guess it's 2 bonus cucumbers with that. The tomatoes, I'll think of something, and the padron peppers, I might just have a snack for tomorrow. And the peppers, we might have fajitas, so maybe they'll go into that. Though maybe that's a shame. Maybe best eaten raw, just the first try, you know, just to see what they're like. That's probably a better idea. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this tour. I could have harvested a lot more, as I said, but I think this will do it for one day. We can't eat everything every day. That's just too much. Anyway, I leave you there and hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day and happy growing.